single contract by a Democratic study for
Ms. Vespi, would you call the meeting order, please?
2011 is now called to order. Crawford. Here. Mendocino. Here. Nyor.
Here.
Villanova.
Here.
Parker.
Yes. Councilwoman Mendocino, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy Supervisor Villanova.
Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage, grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents.
I want to apologize again to people who came tonight. The park meeting went over in the middle of the summer season, so there was a lot of issues. I apologize. Okay, moving right along, can I get a motion? Any comments on the minutes from the May 17th meeting? No. Can I get a motion? And how about for the comments on the minutes from the June 17th meeting? None. Can I get approval to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Crawford.
Aye.
Mendocino. Nyor.
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Town Clerk Vespia?
Yes. Okay. Total shares remitted to the supervisor from the town clerk's office for May 2011, $1,764.68 compared to May of 2010, $1,410.53. Total tax collections for May 2011, deposit to the supervisor of the town of Rome, $6,180,094.27. Deposit to the treasurer of the village of Portchester, $41,974.58. Deposit to the treasurer of the village of Brook, $5,760. A total of $6,227,828.85. Call to court.
As you can see, Crawford Park revenues are lagging a bit behind last year, but the number of events appears to be lagging as well. We're not quite sure yet whether it has to do with the economy or whether it has to do with the price increases that we put in effect for private parties. We are seeing a little bit of resistance on the parties, particularly when it comes to the alcohol-related parties. Some people are balking at the price of the police officers that they're now being asked to hire for their events. Again, I think it's too early to conclude that the policy is flawed. Many people are continuing to sign up. I think it's just the economy, but again, that's just my view.
Great, thank you, Mr. Martin.
Okay.
Comments from the public?
Does the town have a policy when they hire applicants? Do they have to fill out a employment application form?
As far as I understand, yes.
Yes.
I have 3 application forms that are 2 years old. And I was wondering why they were hired. Because I was told that when I was there that I had to fill out an application every year. That's what I did up until 2008. You got 3 people here that their applications are 2 years old. So how did they How did they get hired if they didn't have an application? And how did they compare mine with theirs if they don't even have an application?
Well, I don't know if ongoing employees that are called back, if they're asked to fill out the application again. I don't know. So, you know, Mr. Nolan.
Mr. Serby filed a FOIL
No,
report.
no, no.
Okay.
My question is, I would not expect that we would ask somebody who's...
Everyone is asked to file an application each and every year.
Okay.
The only exception are those employees that we keep on for a longer time. I know that one of those is Dan Pinella. He's our caretaker, and he's on basically on a 12-month basis, so he doesn't file an application.
Is he a part-timer?
The other, yes, he is. The other
Well, how
two,
come he doesn't file?
Well, Mr. Pinella's been there for several years.
Mr. Pinella has been in the caretaker's cottage now for 2 years.
No, more than 2 years.
Well,
Because
approximately.
we had a search that was conducted by Councilman Mendocino and Deputy Supervisor
Well, since
Romero.
late 2008.
And in that case, we did a search, I think you interviewed over 40 candidates, 30 candidates.
Yep.
Well, you have received applications for...
We've had it, it was over 20, just under 30 candidates, and we're doing it.
After a rigorous analysis of the potential candidates, and Mr. Pinella was awarded the job, he's been the job ever since.
Yes.
I was there for 12 years, and I was asked to file in 208. So if I was asked to file, why wasn't Mr. Pinella and these other two guys asked to
Mr.
file?
Pinella is different, he lives in the Crawford
Mr.
Park.
Pinella is a part-timer.
So, anyway, I want to let you ask your questions and make your comments.
Well, I'm asking you a question. I didn't get an answer.
What's the question?
I asked you why he didn't file.
Uh,
He's a part-time
extensive-
employee, and according to the new system, you're supposed to file. I was asked to file after 12 years.
Mr. Supervisor, may I respond?
Yeah, you-
Mr. Servant, Mr. Pinella has a lease with the town to stay in the caretaker's cottage, and as part of that lease, which is a 12-month lease, he is required to perform a certain number of hours of work for the town.
20 hours he's supposed to perform, but he
Correct.
performs about 40.
Well,
How is that?
that's wonderful for
It
the
is?
town, I guess, because we're getting a good bargain. But the
Oh,
reason
yeah.
he doesn't have to file is because he is on a 12-month lease as the caretaker, and he has to perform certain hours in return for a reduced rent. So he doesn't have to file an application every year because that would be redundant.
What about these other two guys?
Who are they?
Who are they?
I don't want to bring no names up. If you want to see them, I'll show you the
No,
paper.
I don't want to see them. I'm just saying.
Okay.
If you want to sit down.
Bishop knows who they are, because he gave me these papers.
We don't generally discuss personnel in public.
This is not personnel.
It is
I'm
personnel.
I'm a resident asking a question, and I never get an answer because you keep telling me it's personnel.
Well, it is
I am
personnel.
not personnel. I am a resident
Yeah.
of Wright Town.
But the employees that you're talking about are a matter of personnel, and we do not, nor does any government, discuss personnel matters at a public meeting.
Well,
That's
how do
the
I get
policy.
an answer? You tell me how I get an answer. I've
Is
been
your,
here
is your
100
question
times.
is that these two individuals did not file applications?
No, they're not there. You want
No,
to see
is that your question? Why did they not file applications?
Yeah.
Then I would suggest that we sit down in town hall sometime. You can show me these documents that you have, and I can get an answer for you.
When do you want to sit down?
Call me tomorrow. I'll be
I
happy
don't
to.
have your number.
698-9331. It's in the book.
What's your number again?
698-9331. And I will sit down with you and Mr. Nowotnik, and I'm happy to try and answer your question.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
And just to clarify, if Mr. Pinella works 40 hours, we pay him for the extra. It's not,
Right, that's,
you know,
thank you, yeah.
we're paying him, so
Yeah,
it's not
but
free
you're
work.
getting a deal from him. You hear what he said?
Any other comments from the public?
My name is Lynn Adele. I'm the Zoom instructor at Crawford Park Management. I've been teaching classes for the past, I guess it was since April of 2010 through Rybrook Recreation because I just asked about how to go about teaching classes for the community. So that's how I kind of came under the umbrella of Rybrook Rec. I have heard recently that there may be a possibility that we may not get the whole classes, or maybe the fees are being, looked at. And I wanted to just come and, well, I wanted to actually read a letter to you from one of the constituents, one who lives in Portchester. First of all, the Zumba classes that I've been teaching weekly, actually I've been teaching a morning class on Tuesdays and Thursday evening, but actually I'm cutting back because of my schedule, so I'm only teaching the Thursday evening starting this summer, and it's supposed to be year-round program. And it's been great. We've had people of all ages from different backgrounds, from Chester and Riva, nearby communities joining us. We have on average about 20 participants in our class in the evenings, and it's been great. And I'll just read you one of the letters that, her name is Roxanne Loomis, and she lives in Portchester. She's a taxpayer and voter. I'm an active member of the Riva Recreation Fitness classes for the past several years. I have most certainly enjoyed and benefited from these programs. I'm writing to express my appreciation for the Zumba program that is currently being offered. I cannot express to you the benefits, to name a few, health benefits from this level of exercise, meeting new people, and the beauty of the public art, as well as the professional experience from a licensed instructor. I have even enjoyed these classes with some of my family members and some of my staff members have come to experience this from my enthusiasm. I would think that the elimination of such classes would be a detriment to the community. This class offers nothing but a positive experience to the town, community, and all the people who come weekly and show their support to the level of rec. I hope all this will be taken into consideration as we discuss the future of this program. I know there were some concerns about the flooring. It's a wooden floor, and actually when you do aerobic exercises, you should have a wooden floor that is like real flooring, not linoleum and hard concrete, just because of the two points. So it is the safest flooring. So Crawford mentioned is an ideal location, and we have rubber soles on our sneakers, so it should not do any damage. In fact, the stilettos that are worn at Crawford parties on the weekends probably do a lot more damage. But if you've never been to a Zumba class, I hope you'll try it. I know some of you might have tried it in this room. It is really a great program for health and fitness. It's also brought the community together because we all come from different walks of life, different age groups. I've had middle schoolers, high schoolers, moms, grandmothers, even guys have come to the class. So I hope that it will continue at Crawford Mansion. I hope you will not eliminate the program because it's been great. And I think the community would be very, very disappointed if we can't have it at Crawford Park Mansion. Are there any questions?
Thursday nights at what time?
7:30 to 8:30. If you come to the class, you'll see the reason why people love it. It's just they feel exhilarated when they. I mean, you can burn 1,000 calories in there. Okay, and people are happy afterwards. There's just no reason not to have it. And if you have any questions or think that there might be a reason not to have classes there, I hope you'll speak up now because I would have an answer for you. I just think it's brought nothing but good. And I have been paying to Riva Correct, which because I started the program with them. I understand there's been some issue. I don't want to get in the middle of Bytown, between Bytown and Village of Riva, but I do believe I've not been doing this for free. It is a business, but mainly I've done this because I live in the community. I'm a taxpayer of Bytown, and I vote. So I believe that I, have every right to, start this program and bring people together. And I do pay for, teaching there. I pay a percentage to Riva Rec. If it has to be, re-examined, I need to pay Bytown. That's fine. I don't get it for free. But I would very much like to book it. In fact, I can't tell my participants whether I have Crawford Mansion for July going forward because Bytown has not been able to make a decision yet about when, if and when I can have it.
Well, thank you so much for coming. So basically, we're in the process, and Mayor Feinstein's still here, we're regularizing our relationship with DeLeo. So very confident we'll have a solution.
Sounds like Vietnam, normalizing.
Thanks so much for coming.
One quick question. How much do you pay Rybrook?
20% of what I.
20%?
Right.
What would that represent?
Well, it's $10 per head.
Okay.
Usually people buy pass cards, so it averages out to be $10.
Oh, okay.
And I pay them 20%.
Very good. So $10 per person, and you're saying that you're paying them $10.
No. So
So I
20
pay
people.
20% of what I
people.
pay total.
That's
If I have 20 people,
I got
pay
you.
them
They're getting 2 out of the 10.
I got you. Very much. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Are you gonna go?
Other comments from the public?
Let's follow. You wanna go?
Sure.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the council, thank you for taking the time to see me. I'm Dennis Pillar, the Mayor of Portchester. I'm standing before you in my ex officio role as Mayor of Portchester on the steering committee that we multilaterally established between Rybrook, the town of Rye, the village of Portchester, and the village of Mamaroneck to bring forward that local government efficiency grant from New York State, basically that you're about, the resolution that you guys are going to act on tonight. I just wanted to support the resolution in front of the council, and if they have questions, I also want to just shout out, apologize to my wife that I'm late for cooking her steaks on her birthday, so I'll be brief. But basically, we went through a really robust interview process where we had very strong finalists, a rigorous interview process, and the Center for Governmental Research, the firm that you're about to act on tonight, stood out in the crowd, head and shoulders above the crowd. They had the most robust work plan approach, particularly for considering shared services and alternatives, and that's something particularly in these times that are very important. So I'm here to support that resolution, and if I can be helpful to you.
Well, just before we leave, Mayor Feinstein, you want to come up as well, please? Yeah.
I didn't realize I spoke.
Yeah, I know, we were going to do, I thought we were going to do the
Okay.
item early, but I have
Right.
to go.
I guess
Thanks
as
for my
well.
wife.
I also concur, and I want to thank everyone, Joan Feinstein, Mayor of Rybrook, for the cooperation that we've had with the town of Rye, also with Mamaroneck, and of course Portchester as well. I think the process has been really quite good. We've talked about it for a long time, but we're finally at the point that we can, that we have the desired consultants. I also want to thank Mayor Pilla also for really taking the lead when it came to the grant, writing the grant to New York State, that we did get the grant for $50,000, and 3 municipalities are putting forward $5,000. But I think this is a great start. We have a good work plan. I think we have a wonderful consultant. We had 6 proposals, right, Bishop? Yeah, 6 proposals. We interviewed 4, and we spent an entire day basically and more interviewing those candidates that we thought that were possibilities. 2 we discarded. And this is wonderful. We look forward to working together. And I think this is something that I've said publicly. It's time that we really look at this seriously, that we have the professional input, and to make a determination. We've talked about this too often over the years. Now let's do it professionally.
Mayor
CGR is really top notch.
Mayor Feinstein,
Yes.
I concur with your sentiment. Mayor Pilla, just happens to be, the last time we discussed this was right here. I don't know if you remember or not.
It was the last time we were at Neck, yeah.
Last time we were in Rhinebeck. And the one commitment I got from Mayor Pilla, which I applaud him for, was that the commitment is going to be that at the end of this process, we're going to have an actionable item. And it's something that we can adopt and we can go forward with. And it's not going to be another study that we've spent money on, that we've spent time on, and that it sits in a drawer. And so, that being said, Mayor Pilla and Mayor Feinstein, you feel great that this is the best applicant, and you feel confident that they're going to give us an actionable item at the end of their review and their report.
Well, I certainly feel good about the consultant that you're going to be voting on this evening. They have the expertise, the experience. I'd say they're the foremost consultant when it comes to studies of dissolutions or possible dissolutions, or looking at the economic viability of doing so.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important.
That, I agree. I thank you very
The
much.
timing on all this, one other quick remark on this, the timing of this couldn't be better because they just enacted legislation where there's basically up to $1 million on the table for this community, for the community to consider, in terms of carrots that the state is offering for consolidation and dissolution, really consolidation. So I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion. The work plan that the contract embodies includes public participation sessions, so the public will be involved quite often in this, because the contract requires that.
And that was really one of the reasons we did go with this consultant, because we felt that the public outreach was going to be particularly good, because it's essential.
Everything that they're giving you, you feel confident that the timeliness of the project is going to be good?
Basically, it's a one-year work plan.
And that's been consistent with other projects they've
Right.
undertaken.
Okay.
One last remark, and I said that a second ago. I did get a call from Kyle Wilbur, the director of the Local Government Efficiency Program today, and he mentioned that it's taken a while for the contract to get there, so I would urge you guys to take action tonight so we don't jeopardize the grant just by delay. Thank you.
Well, before you go, I just want to, I don't want to delay those stakes, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank
We're not in the car, it's
to
okay.
thank both Mayor Pilla, Mayor Feinstein, and Mayor Rosenblum. I got to say, what was fascinating to me is there was actually no divergence of opinion whatsoever on the candidates. We ranked them 1 to 6, and there was actually absolute agreement on 1 to 6. So it was really, and the other thing to give you comfort, Deputy Supervisor Lanova, the candidate we chose, CGR, said, you may have an idea what result you want, but we're going to be completely objective, and we're going to give you a result that we think is for the best for the community. So, and everybody in the room chose that consultant. So thank you so much. I think it's going to be a very exciting year for us, and thank you so much.
Yeah, indeed. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, other comments from the public? Yes, so state your name and address for the record, please.
Absolutely.
I'm a temporary cell. Dean Santon, Hillendale Road, Rybrook. We got a segue from disillusion of the town to what is probably most people agree is the most important function, at least one of the most important functions of the town, and that is to assess property, collect taxes, and guarantee taxes. Today is grievance day. I made a brief appearance over at the bar in your normal meeting room, and while this is the second time in 12 years owning my property in Hillendale that I filed a bar, first time was back probably 2002, 2003, when there was an error made by the assessor, and I did not prevail at the bar level because it was the 4 people that I ran against on the board. We were the assessing unit, so I've had the pleasure of being a member of an assessing unit in a bar, and realized that when you have your own property come up under application before the 4 people from the other party or the other group that didn't want you to be on the board in the first place, I did prevail, but I did prevail at the SCAR level where facts carried the day. The point of addressing you tonight is to go over just some policy considerations, and I've shared some of them with Town Attorney Noda, who, by the way, I must commend. He's always, since the time I've met him, he's always been a stand-up person, very honorable, very easy to interface with, and I'm sure that Mr. Serby, if he reaches out to Mr. Noda, will be heard and listened to and hopefully have an appropriate outcome. But I wanted the board as a body, since you're the board, the body that sets policy, I wanted you to be aware of a number of things that having been on the Rybrook board for 6 years and spent, I was on the board from 2001 to 2005 when the first, the so-called 2004 reval was an embryo and came to life. And I was on the board that had to relinquish its, didn't have to, but we chose to relinquish our Rybrook being an assessing unit and creating our own role every February, so that we let the town take over and do the one role. I must say there was a lot of heat, and it was the first time reval was done since '67. It was 40, almost 40 years in the making. There was a lot of shock. People don't like change. People don't like taxes. People don't like assessment process. But I have to say that and there were problems like any vendor, any consultant. There's always issues, and I believe that the best the best projects are the ones where you have an informed and actively participating client. You can't just say the vendor's going to get the job done. It's what the input is from the client level. In this case, the client is the town government and the staff. Having sampled some of the data and being drawn into it with my own property, but also looking at the neighborhood, and I do what I do best is I research, and I've basically done something I told Mr. Noto I'm going to share with the town government at some point when I tweak the information a little bit more.
But so far I've got a 13-page spreadsheet on all, I've tracked all the properties in the Byram Ridge subdivision, which is probably one of the 2 oldest subdivisions in the village of Rybrook, certainly. And I've tracked, there's about 112 household addresses and about 120 plus, 121 parcels. And the reason why I tracked it is because you went through a process, and I didn't see it live, but I saw the videotape of the April 26th meeting of the Board of Trustees, where Mitchell Markowitz, the assessor, and Dave Arnold, the consultant from Vision Appraisal, appeared, and Mayor Feinstein had asked some questions and raised some issues, and basically gave some anecdotes about what she hears as mayor and what people say, and that's all great. It's what I chalk up to be anecdotal hearsay about people talking about their taxes and pitting one neighborhood against another, and people always think the grass is greener and they're not getting the right apportionment. But following that meeting, and that meeting, by the way, was a month after what you call the preliminary reval came out on March 31st. And if you looked, if any of you have gone online to the Vision Appraisal website or looked at any of the data, you can see that there were dramatic changes, in what I call, land assessments went up, land assessments went down. Building values went up, building values went down. There was a lot of shifting around. And so it was clear that, there was no property that wasn't touched by some sort of adjustment or value or scrutiny, because it was a 2011 reval. It's not just another year. It was intended to be, every 6 years you've got to do a certain level of work, and but every year the assessor is supposed to be in charge of getting it right and trying to get it right. But this year was unique. It was the first year that the town of Rye broke out what they call on the Vision Appraisal website outbuildings. And instead of just saying land, total, which is implied that what the building, you subtract the land from the total and you get the building improvements, or what they call just improvements. Most rolls don't say building, they say improvements. And this year they broke out outbuildings, which equals patios, decks, pools, sheds, detached garages, and so forth. And my feeling is that there's a lot of inventory errors that I found in just sampling 120 parcels in a 90-acre subdivision that I know very well. I know a lot of subdivisions well because I do a lot of research in the last 10 years. The problem is there's glaring errors and omissions. There are people, if you're going to put in a category for garage, and either, you figure everybody has at least a garage or a detached garage, except maybe some of the units in the arbors or some condos. But when you go through, single-family properties, particularly some in the Byram Ridge area that have, 0.6 to acre and a half, and you find properties that don't have garage structures of any kind, you would think a bell would go off on the assessor's part or the consultant's part saying, hey, let me look at this more closely. What I've basically found is there's either a flawed methodology or no methodology at all in the way the data is collected. You're talking about, you have historical data. When MJW did the 2004 reval, and you folks, other than Michelle, weren't on the board at the time that hired them, they basically started with the historical data, what we call the 1967, the handwritten cards that were updated from the 60s on up until 2004 when they took over. And they continue to be the basic, it's the paper card record that were scanned and part of the SDG-NY database. That is an invaluable database. It has aerial photography that may have even occurred on your watch, Supervisor Harvey. I'm not sure if you did add it to that, because I think Watch did some of it, but then you augmented it. So you go to that database, which, by the way, was conveniently taken offline for a period of time, and it was only put back on because the assessor felt it would confuse the public. And I know I'm not going to rehash the editorial from the Western News, but I happen to, agree with putting it back on, and data should be accessible. I will say that that data is a wealth of information. Every property has approximately 14 to 20 photos in there. Sometimes 3, 4, 5 aerials. As I showed Mr. Markowitz last week, when I just gave him a couple of samples in the Byram Ridge area and even outside, and I said, look at this property, look at this structure, 30 feet from the road on King Street, 26-foot tall barn-like structure. You can't miss it. Photo number 8 of 14 at 1002 King Street. It's not on the vision appraisal as a shed, as a barn, as a garage, nothing.